Hello, this is Brad, and we're here in Missoula, Montana, and we're going to be flying the X737 to Seattle. And I've got a route here planned on SkyVector. Of course, it's plotted here as a straight line, but we'll be headed north right over Spokane, and then come down from the northeast, and you'll see how that plots out in a minute. Here is a route that I picked up from FlightAware, and it's using a SID called Diddley 4, and then on the other end Glazer 9. So let's see if we can't plug that in here. So here's Diddley, and then Glazer. Whoops, let's put that on the end here. So again, head a little bit to the northwest, and then finally almost straight west over Spokane, and then make a dog leg and intercept our localizer in this direction. So we're going to be landing on 16 left. So we have an option here to pick up Payne, probably end up actually with KMSO or CARFO. We'll see what the FMC suggests. Just take a quick look at the star itself. Down to Gasper 9. So we'll be coming from Mullen Pass, Mike Lima Papa, and then finally making our turn here at not sure what that, having a hard time reading what that is, Heather, and then on into Seattle. Taking a look at the star, taking a look at the SID, we've got Diddley 4. So we'll be taking off on runway 29 and then headed up in this direction. So all makes sense. So why don't we check one other thing before we climb in the airplane, and that's our fuel. So I'm using fuelplanner.com, and I'm interested in our load sheet here, and our takeoff fuel is 1345, and that's in pounds, so we can change it to kilograms. And we're at 6,000 kilograms, and that's what we'll be using in the airplane. So head on over to our airplane and get things rolling. By the way, I'm using scenery from an organization or a guy named Renair. It's off of xplane.org. It got 5 stars. Seems to be pretty realistic. You know, you got skid marks and so on the tarmac. So it's nice when you can find scenery like this for an out-of-the-way airport like Missoula. Sorry for you who are from Missoula. Right, hop into the airplane, and I'm using a checklist that I developed along the way, and I'm just going to go ahead and use that. First thing I want to do is get fuel in the airplane, and so you click the visor area, and you put in the fuel that you're going to need right here. So we just need 6,000 for this flight. And I'll click quick fuel. And that takes care of our fueling for now. So batteries on, and flip the guard over that. And then turn on our ground power. And we need some steady lights here. These are the nav lights. And we should be powered up enough to get our FMC taken care of. By the way, you can pull it up like this, and if you click this black bar over here, you can use your keyboard. So I've got the latest AirRack navigation from Navigraph. So we'll go ahead and put in our origin here. Still have to click the button. And on this FMC there's a slight pause. And we're headed over to Seattle. And we're going to be flying Alaska Airlines. And I'll go ahead and activate this. Now let's plug in our departure and arrival. So again, runway 29, Diddley, and our transition is Mullen Pass. Go ahead and execute that. Now our arrival, choose our star and our transition and our runway, ILS 16L. And I'll go ahead and execute that and head back to our route. Take a look at our legs. This is always the moment of truth. So we're going to step through this and see if we need to make adjustments. Chances are we will. So I'll flip this over to plan and try to zoom in so that you can see our route as I step through it. So all this looks pretty straightforward. That's probably our top of descent. I'm sorry, that probably was our top of climb. I don't see a top of descent just yet, but that'll probably happen once I get an altitude in there. Now I see kind of a mess here, and so I'm going to try to clean that up. Part of the problem is this discontinuity. So go back to that. Sorry. All right, here we have the issue. So I want to see it looks like the airport here is in the wrong place. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that and then enter Heather in the blank, execute, and see what I have on the next page. I still have a discontinuity. So I'll plug that in there. Now we'll step through our arrival, and we've got a little funny dog leg here, so that's caused by Heather. So I believe we can go back here and just delete it. Delete button, click. Then I'll have to take care of my discontinuity and finally execute. So now we have a little smoother transition into Seattle in our ILS approach. All right, we're not done just yet. Let's take care of our fuel panel here. Reserves of 1,000. Cost index, I'll use the mean of around 50, and we'll be flying at flight level 320. Transition altitude, flight level 180. Something's not there we go. And our temperature economy here at 45 degrees. I'm going to leave these as standard. Go over to takeoff, 5 degrees flaps, V speeds, making notice of V2. I'm going to add 20 to that to put on our speed dial. And that takes care of our FMC. I'm sorry, there's one more thing I need to make note of here, and that is our trim setting, which is 4.75, and it really does make a difference. So I've got a button, as recommended, set for this on my joystick. So that should be good to go now. So back up to our overhead panel, and again I'm reading off of my checklist, and I'll just quickly go through these: cabin, utilities, passenger seat, and then I'm going to turn on this left forward fuel pump. You need enough fuel to fire up your APU. So a momentary start switch, and you'll see the temperature rise, indicating the APU is on. And then I'll click on the APU generators. And turn on the APU bleed. You can hear the rush of air, and the passengers are very happy about that. Yaw damper, emergency lights armed. We'll need this eventually. No smoking on, fasten seat belts on, and I'll turn on the window heat. Adjust temperatures in the cabin. Any of you who fly the JAR A320 knows that you get barked at by the first officer if you don't take care of that. Alright, so everything is powered up on the APU, so we can go ahead and turn off our ground power. Our recirculating fans go to auto. Our packs are on auto. Isolation valve to open. Our bleeds are on for our engines. Set our oxygen here. In Seattle's, I don't know, can't be much. Sorry. Should have just left it at 0. probably 50 feet. Not that oxygen at that point is a huge deal. Alright, down to our instrument panel. We want our auto brakes set to reject takeoff. And I'm going to put the engine on our MFD, which is our lower panel here. And then this goes back to map. By the way, you can adjust how your navigational display looks. Probably don't need airports. And probably set this to 20 miles for our takeoff. So flight director on, arm our auto thrust. We're not going to be flying VORs today, so don't need to mess with the course. This is where I want to set 20 above our V2. So 157 is just kind of a target speed for our immediate climb after takeoff. And just for reference sake, go ahead and set this to 29. And arm our LNAV. And our initial climb, we're just going to set this for 32. Some SIDs require an initial climb altitude, but I'm going to ignore that for right now. So I'm taking my time here, just making sure that I've got everything taken care of. Take a look at my transponder. It's on standby. And now we can turn on our fuel pumps. And our hydraulic. And turn on our anti-collision light. And then we can call for a push, and I'm going to use the Tugmaster. For me, this is the hardest part of the flight. So I'm going to go ahead and call. And I will attempt to back this thing up. You have to do it with kid gloves, so parking brake off. And so I want my nose east, so see if I can get that worked out. Go ahead and lock that. Like I said, this is probably painful to watch, but I'm doing this with the joystick. And you control the speed and direction same way. Whoops. Get it straightened out. All right, now that we'll let the laughter subside and say goodbye to our tow. And can't forget to put our brake back on. And we're ready to start our engines. I'm going to start with one today. And I'm going to just watch this lower panel until this number here, our N2, gets to around 25. And then I'll add fuel. And you'll see this switch flip over to off. And at that point I'll go ahead and start the other engine. So it's push and turn. Again, I'm watching this here. Add fuel. Now some checklists have you turn off the packs. I've got them on auto. So I'm not sure what the official word is on that. If anybody can fill me in, I'd be more than happy to take advice. Right, so we've got our engine started, and we can turn on our generators. We can turn off our isolation valve, turn off our APU bleed, and turn off the APU altogether, and turn these off. I think they automatically go off when I trigger Gen 1 and Gen 2. And we'll turn on our pitot heat. Don't need any de-icing for right now. So we've got, except for this, we've got a clear panel. So before I take off, I just want to, or before I taxi, I'm sorry, I want to add my flaps in. 5. We don't arm our speed brake in this airplane, at least that I know of. We can turn on our taxi lights and our transponder over to TA. And now if I can avoid these vehicles, we will taxi to the end of runway 29. So parking brake off. Probably should have used the tow to push me back a little bit further, but as you saw, it was a challenge just to get it where it was. By the way, if you don't like the yoke, you can click the center of the PFD and it will go away, but it doesn't seem to bother me. One thing I have noticed, and I'm surprised I got that far, in this airplane, if you use the tow, look at my front wheel here, it's not responsive at all. So the only reason it turned the way it did was because it was just set that way. So if you run into this problem, go over to your joystick, null zone, center yoke, just go to the null zone, but you can see it works now. So, break off, and we'll do our taxiing, and I'll get back to you when we get to the end of the runway. So here we are at the end of the runway, and we've been cleared for takeoff. A couple things I want to check before we go. Turn on all of my landing lights, just flip this little lever down. Don't need the taxi lights anymore, and we'll go ahead and flip our strobes on. And we can turn on our logo light, I suppose. It's getting dark. But everything looks good on our overhead panel. We just want to turn on our transponder. And I'm just going through my checklist. And go ahead and start our timer. And we'll head out to the numbers. I've noticed some co-pilots call out the numbers just to make sure they're on the right runway. Alright, and at 40% I'm going to hit toga. One finger on the G key for gear.
80 knots.
And at 400 feet off the ground or so, I will
V1,
rotate.
V2,
Gear up. Go ahead and click V now. Whoops. Turn on my autopilot. Then V now. There we go. And we could take our flaps up a notch. So we've begun, let's see, let's get back to the beginning of our flight here. Diddly. There we go. And another notch of flaps. Finally to 0. I've got my cloud set pretty low tonight. And I've got frame rates of about 24. Gets down to about 20, I get nervous. And we can put this to off. and we'll just climb. We're at 250 knots, cruising right along here. It's kind of a valley that you fly out of. So it's a pretty straight shot here. Interestingly, I don't see my airplane. Oh, I don't know why I can't seem to get back to my beginning of my flight plan here. Oh, it's, for some reason, it's showing it's, there we go. Oh boy. That was sloppy, folks. I apologize for that. Well, that doesn't look right either, does it? Okay, there's approach, VOR, map. By the way, this is kind of cool. It shows our climb here. Alright, we can turn off our landing lights. We are above 10,000 feet. And notice our speed has climbed above the 250 knot speed limit. There we go. Oh boy. And we don't need our heading anymore. By the way, in this airplane, if you click on the little window that contains the number, you can then use your keyboard to change it. That's the numeric keyboard on my Mac. My actual numeric keys on the main part of my keyboard are actually set to the defaults of X-Plane, and I would find myself inadvertently putting down flaps. So coming up on flight level 180, and we can go ahead and click our standard. You'll see it down here, it turned orange. I click it here, now it says standard. So I'll get back to you when we get to our top of climb. So we're coming up on our cruise altitude. The airplane actually lowered its speed by pulling up the nose so that we maintain a good rate of climb, but now as we approach, you can see this number start to decrease. You can hear the engine starting to come back as we reach cruise. Go ahead and turn off the seatbelt sign. So this should come back around, I don't know, between 420 and 430 because of where I have my cost index set. Above the clouds. SkyMax Pro does a pretty good job. So it looks like our throttles are still adjusting themselves, dropping a little bit. And now we are turning over our transition, while in pass VOR. By the way, if we were asked to climb or descend to a different altitude, you can always use the level change. So you would set your altitude and then click level change, and the airplane will climb or descend depending on where that altitude is set. Increase our range here. I'm not sure what this is, if that is going to be our top of descent. I can't imagine. Although, yeah, it comes after Temple, so Temple's quite a ways out. So I'm not sure if this is just some artificially generated or if that's Greg. I'm not sure. I've wondered about that along with a friend of mine, Steve. Why does it do that? It doesn't happen in the JAR A320. All right, well, back to you at top of descent. All right, we're getting close to our top of descent. We're going to cross Temple here, and then this waypoint 02 is our top of descent. Let me go back and look at the legs. So that's our next waypoint. By the way, just wanted to show you a couple of things here. A couple of extra panels on our FMC. Just gives you data about our cruise. And here's our descent, and here's our progress showing top of descent and our arrival time into Seattle. So back to legs. So it's time to set up our altitude. So I've pulled up our chart here, and we are going to be intercepting the localizer at Carfo, which is 3,200 feet. So I'm going to dial that in and pray that the 737 drops to that altitude, which will put us slightly below the guide slope, which is where we want to be. And I'm noting our frequency here, 110.3. Just want to double check and make sure we've got those. So down to 3,200 feet. By the way, in this aircraft, unlike the JAR, it automatically begins its descent. In the JAR, you have to punch the button. And while we are at it, so we've got 10.3, and my friend Steve tells me that if you've got both of these dialed in to the localizer frequency, you can use both autopilots for added accuracy. And you can see that over here on the menu, nav status, 10.3 on both. Good to know. So we're just about on top of our top of descent. So we'll be anticipating this needle dropping. Some numbers appearing here show our rate of descent. Throttles will be coming back. And there we go. Down comes the needle. Down comes the power. I don't know what they want in the back, but turn our seatbelt sign on. And we are on our way. Everything looks good there. So the only thing we need to monitor, although this airplane is actually pretty accurate on this descent, but we want to make sure we are at our target altitudes. So here with SWAC, we need to be at flight level 232. And here is CARFO. I will probably dial in some speed restrictions here as we get closer to that approach. Some pretty flying there. So I won't bore you with this long descent, but once we get down here to Jackson, things start get interesting, and just want to take a quick peek out the window. I've pulled up X airports here so you can, here's our route in red. Let me turn that off for a second just so I can move the map up. This is Glacier Peak. I'll show you that out the window in a minute. It's just well, I take that back. It's a little hazy. Yeah, sorry about that. Like I said, a little hazy. We're coming up on 18. Check the weather here, and our altimeter is 3007. And you can see that we're getting close to Jackson. I can probably zoom in a little bit on the range. And at Jackson, we need to be at 12.1. So I think we're doing okay there. And I just want to punch in some new speeds here. Well, that didn't work. Try that again. There we go. And let's make this 160. And 1900. So let's see if it actually obeys. So we want to be at 12.1. I think we're gonna be well on target here. All right, back in a minute. Okay, we've made our turn over Jackson and we're headed down to Wood, coming up on 10,000 feet. Go ahead and turn on my landing lights. So we're supposed to be down to 9,000 at Woody. Very hazy coming into Seattle. So you can see Carfo here, where we hopefully will intercept the localizer, and then our approach. So turning towards Carfo, and we are to be at 3,200 feet. So we've got 20 miles to get there. Let's see how we do. So 13 miles to Carfo. We can zoom in a little bit. By the way, you can use your co-pilot side. Let's see. Get two different views. Now I'm curious, we're to be at 200, and I'm not sure if that's, no, it's not setting that yet, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. We'll see if it drops when we get a little closer or over it. Not sure who's calling. Lights are coming on in Seattle. I've never actually been to Seattle. Grew up in California, but never made it north of Mount Shasta. So our speed bug has dropped. So 1,000 feet left. Oops, I never punched that in, did I? However, not sure why that's not showing up there. I think I had this conversation with my buddy Steve. So I see my guide slope here. And I see my localizer bug over here. So when these get close, I go ahead and click my approach. And hopefully they'll turn magenta. I'll go with my second autopilot. Still waiting to capture that localizer. So we got the guide slope. And we can start getting some flaps in there. Now you can see our localizer bug is magenta. 7 miles out. Put the gear down. Dial that down 140. And put our auto brake on 2. So the speeds I dialed in on the FMC really didn't come into play as I had hoped. Well, they've already gone past. So we are full flaps, trying to maintain the 140. Pappy lights 2/2. We see flare here.
500.
Spoilers are armed, by the way, you just couldn't hear the click. There we are.
30, 20, 10.
Alright, that was... didn't touch the controls. And I've got reverse screen.
Caution. So we ask that you remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the seatbelt sign has been turned off and the aircraft is come to a complete stop at the gate. That will be your only indication of picking up and moving.
Sorry about that.
We also ask that you keep the house clear of any carry-on
Get off the runway here.
Termination of our flight this morning, so we ask that you check the back pockets, closets, and overhead bins for any articles you may have brought with you. Extra care should be taken when opening the overhead bins if any articles may have shifted during our flight. On behalf of your entire flight crew, it's been our pleasure serving you this morning. Have a pleasant stay.
Somebody knows how to turn that off. That would be wonderful. Now my buddy Steve would be looking for an auto gate. And we should probably be cleaning up the airplane. Shouldn't be doing this, but get the strobe off. Get a different view here. Alright, let's get the parking brake set. And some people say you should turn on your APU before you even get to the gate. So that's my bad. If you've watched my videos before, I don't do a lot of shutting down. Continue to get the airplane cleaned up here. And get our bleeds on. And we can go ahead now and cut our fuel. Oops. Alright, probably not the best shutdown in the world, but we made it. So, Missoula to, where are we? Seattle. So, until next time.